Okay, I think we're ready to start. We'll officially call to order. So welcome everybody to the second meeting of the 2020 subcommittee for 2020. Jamie will be taking minutes, so that's good. I want to make sure we've got a quorum. I know we do. We've got officially 12 people in the subcommittee now, so we said we need at least 10. I think we've got 12, so I think that's set. So I'll just make sure we've got a quorum. Bob Pascal isn't here. I'm Al Miller, so I'm here. Maggie's here, Maggie McIntyre. Jamie Dawson is here. Kate Larson is here. Lisa Shanahan is here. Sarah Kina is here. Susan Kador is here. Jamie Stevenson emailed me and said she won't make it today. Sarah Woodbury is here. And Mia Cordalesi. She's for the Mather representative here. I'm sorry. And Mallory Rentz. And Mallory's from the library. Right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 12. We needed 7. So we're here. And we've got a couple of special guests as well.
Kate isn't here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kate's not here. We got a couple of special guests. We got Dave Zekin. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, that's right.
Dave? So Dave's the president of the Masonic Club of Darien. And then we've got Catherine Love. She's the regent from the Good Wives Daughters of the American Revolution. And then we've got 2 representatives from Masters in Ceremonies. Our historian, Ken Reese.
Jim Long.
And we've got Jim Long as well. So the 2020 subcommittee is officially a subcommittee of Masters in Ceremonies. So they will have a representative present in all our meetings. Okay. So I think we have a quorum. Everybody, I think, has the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? First, would you like to read them first? They were up on the website, but why don't we got some new members, so let's take a few minutes to read them. What? Oh, yeah, no, you probably can't. You probably can't vote either.
Is everybody done with the minutes? I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes if they are.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, let's vote on it. Approval for minutes, say aye.
Aye.
A couple of caveats before we start. We are being videotaped. It's not transmitted, so we're not on television, but it is videotaped. And then the second caveat, it shouldn't influence your vote, but if there's any voting, no votes will be, you have to register no votes. Yes votes don't get registered, but no votes, we have to register. So a couple of things that shouldn't influence any voting. So let me read the agenda. Maggie put this together. Call to order, welcome and introductions, approval of minutes. We'll talk about Sarah will talk a little bit about the logo contest. She's a little time constrained, so we'll try to get her out very quickly. And we'll talk about the calendar of 2020 events, discussion of matters relating to the 2020 celebration, discussion on meetings and process to involve town organizations. So I'm glad we got Dave here. And then we'll adjourn. This meeting is an hour, so 12 o'clock. If it runs a little over, I think we have the room for more than that. Let's try to keep it to an hour. Okay, I just want to say we've got 5 or 6 subcommittees on this, and fortunately now we have a lead for every, or a point of contact for every subcommittee. So I hope I got this right. If I volunteer somebody who isn't a lead, let me know, and I do apologize. So there's the 2020 Weed Beach Festival. Jamie, is that called the Birthday Bash, or is that called the Weed Beach Festival?
It's the Weed Beach Fest is the name of it, but if we want to come up with a way to customize it for 2020,
right.
as long as it's still Weed Beach Fest.
Something, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. 2020 celebration or whatever we want to come up with, that's fine.
Okay.
Is that the June 12th date? Am I allowed to just ask a question?
Sure.
Is that the June 12th date?
Or is it June 13th?
I thought we were going to do it the Saturday after
That's the 13th.
Okay, it's the 13th. So
okay.
June 12th is the actual, I think, date of the 200th date. But the 13th is a Saturday, so that's more conducive to a birthday bash. So Jamie's the lead on that. Maggie's the lead for communications and public relations. And by the way, if anybody knows anybody with social media skills, we could really use some help with that. If anybody wants to volunteer with that, that's definitely not me. Sarah Kina is youth and education. The EDDM calendar, which is every door direct mail, Susan Cater. Is EDDM, is that a recognized acronym?
Yes, it is.
It is? EDDM? Okay. I like that, every door direct mail. So. And historical markers, that's Bob Pascal. And contacting all the other organizations in town, that's me, but Kate and Lisa also are going to volunteer for that. Okay, Sarah, so the logo contest?
So I met with Bob and Al and we discussed the 5 submissions that were in for students. One, at the last meeting we discussed it, we would take all of those, and Bob was going to talk to some professional graphic designers to see if somebody would give us their time for free. And we would connect the students and the graphic designer to work together so that a little bit of each of their designs and thoughts could be incorporated into this. This is where we're at. Out of the 4 students, 3 have agreed to do that, and they're very excited to participate. The 4th has decided they don't want to be part of it. And now we're just waiting on Bob and the meeting with the graphic designer, but the students will be ready to rock and roll.
Great. So hopefully sometime in April we'll probably have a design. Yes. So if we get it before, there's a monthly meeting. I think it's the 2nd Wednesday of every month. So if we get it before the 2nd Wednesday in April.
It should be, because we took care of this about 2 weeks ago. So
okay, oh, that's fantastic. Then we would vote on it. And getting the logo, I think, is kind of linchpin for a lot of other things, contacting organizations, getting the calendar.
Well, the logo is actually going to be on almost anything related to 2020. Letterhead from the town, letterhead from other entities, all of you, as well as throughout flags and banners in town. So we're working on it with some great ideas. So it's very exciting.
So the next, I'm sorry.
Just a quick question for Jamie. Who's in charge of the website? Like, would there probably be
the Selectman's office?
Oh, the Selectman's office. So, would that be like Linda? I should contact. Okay.
Yeah, Linda's the perfect person to reach out to. She does almost all of it.
All right, great. Thank you.
Linda O'Leary.
Yeah.
Okay. So Susan gave me a great write-up about EDDM.
And you typed it for me. Thank you very much. A devoted chairperson. If you would like to take one and pass it around, if there aren't enough, you can share. So just for the group's knowledge, the post office has a service. It's called EDDM, every door direct mail. And any kind, there are certain requirements that you have to meet. So there are two components. There's the component of that you have to pay for the post office to deliver it, and then you have to pay to have it printed. So we pretty much know what the cost is to do every mailbox in Darien, because that's kind of set. It'll vary a little bit, and that's I think $1,500 to do it one time. The varying expense then is what you actually put in the mail. So there are certain restrictions. It can't be larger than 8.5 by 11. Their most popular size is a smaller size card, which is more like this. You know, I brought a bunch of different samples. The committee had talked about doing a 4-part mailing. I'm not quite sure because every time you mail, then you have to pay the $1,500. So then you might want to think about being more efficient and having, like, maybe doing a trifold, which, could you open that up for me? So I'll just show you a couple different samples of trifolds that you could do one time, like this one. This is a menu. You can do, if you used to get the, they don't do them anymore. I stopped by Heights Pizza, did a trifold menu. So you can do a menu, and then you pay the fee once, and it's a little bit larger, and it might be heavier, but you're only paying the expense of the delivery part one time. So you could, you know, this is kind of a nifty little thing. It folds up. You could have the whole calendar. You could have some visuals on it, and that could be nice to do. The program, so it's kind of creatively, you know, you do this, the Park and Rec group. You know, I mean, it's large and it's, I don't know, what do you pay for that?
I don't know. I just design it.
You designed it.
I can find out. Someone else.
You know, I don't think we want to do something that deluxe, but you know, it could go all the way up to this, and you have to have the special insignia up at the top. If we can use the town permit, we get a little reduction. If we can use a nonprofit permit, we get a reduction, but you have to do a certain volume with the nonprofit. It would be more like the Red Cross, you know, blanketing the United States kind of a thing. But we might be able to squeak in there with the nonprofit. I'm not quite sure. But if we can use the town permit, it's 2 cents off every piece.
The nonprofit limit used to be 200.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty low because we did a mailer in the fall. I think it's.
Oh, it is? Okay, so then you can save
like
6 cents. You know, so I don't know if we have a nonprofit status.
We
The Historical Society has.
Well, is it registered as a 501c3?
I mean, then it has to have.
Have you gone to the state to get?
But in order to get that registration, you have to have your tax, like your fiscal year, and I don't know if you know what I mean. You need cash flows and financials and stuff to get the 501c. So maybe one of the involved nonprofits.
We have a permit.
We have a permit too. We can.
Yeah,
figure
so
it out.
maybe we can. I'd have to talk to them and see if we can use your permit.
Yeah.
So with this program, we have right now we have 8,376 delivery opportunities, I'll say, in postbox, business, and residence. So that has to be done in 2 different parts. The most that you can do in any one drop is 5,000. So you do 5,000 on one day, and the next day you would follow up with the rest. They recommend the best days to do this would be on a Tuesday followed by a Wednesday. So, you know, I would go with when they recommend that it's the best delivery time, which is, you know, those 2 days. And they need 30 days in advance to reserve your date. And that's kind of where we are now. So, you know, I can't really follow through with any more pricing until we sort of decide, you know, like this is kind of flimsy, you know, this is nice and stiff. I like the 3, you know, the trifold, but we kind of have to figure out what information is going to go on this before we go to the format, before we get the pricing.
Who's the printer? Just out of curiosity, do you have a printer?
Well, I would recommend, I really believe that we should keep it local.
Right.
And the printer who's a chamber member is EPOD.
Right, okay,
Executive
so-
Printing.
Yeah,
So I would go. I personally would go through EPOD. I know that through due diligence, the committee probably has to get a couple bids, and so I don't really know of any other printing firms. D'Alessio used to be in town. I don't even know if he's still in business. So we'd have to go. Pardon me? Diorio, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's.
I'd have to go outside of Darien to get estimates, which there are plenty of printers, The post office does have some recommended sources. They are not local that do this kind of thing for them. I don't think we have to go outside. I think we can use somebody local. Like, who does all your printing?
Total Printing in Norwalk.
Oh, Total. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah.
And
Use G-Way. Really?
and where are they?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, yeah. So
Can I wonder what the committee thinks about possibly having an option of doing both a trifold and a regular postcard, depending on either the season or what we receive from the community. So I think the idea was to have it 4 times throughout the bicentennial year, because if we're going to send it in January, then the deadline for people submitting dates for the calendar would have to be like November. And so people might not have their event ready by November 2019. It gives people some time.
right.
And so I wonder, like, the height of everything is probably going to be in the spring when, we're going to have the birthday bash and a lot of things are going to be happening. So maybe we can have the flexibility of either having a larger postcard at that time or a trifold. And it really kind of, the deadline for the community letting us know what their events are will drive, I think, the postcard.
So you're proposing 2, one a postcard just like a general announcement, and then a trifold that will have.
I
Like
feel like
more
the
of
trifold in the spring when there's a lot of
Yeah,
things
I
going
like that
on.
idea.
Well,
maybe that
yeah,
would be-
and you get lost. So, maybe we should do the cards. Maybe only 3 cards, and you do larger cards. Could be good. You send one out at the start of the year. You send one out right before. You could just do 1 card for the fest, which is
mailings are going to be more
so exciting. And then I think you ought to have something in Labor Day because it's back to school, it's fall. There's got to be some kind of activities going on.
Right.
Repeat mailings are going to be more effective anyway.
I agree. I mean, I totally agree with your thoughts on saving money, but people get things once. They sometimes, they say that like the consumer needs to see something 3 times, whether it's social media or email or mail. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, when is that festival? So
Yeah, I'm in the direct marketing business.
oh yeah, well there you go.
If you just
What he says.
Would you like to be the chairperson?
If you shoot one and done, you never. Right? If you shoot one and done, you never. You'll hit some percentage of the people, but if you hit them too early anyway, they're going to say, oh, you know what? They're going to send me another one, and then they fling it, and then they assume they're going to see another one because the expectation even
Is that you'll get another one.
that you're going to send another.
Yeah.
But you already have an audience that's receiving that magazine you held up. You can put a blow-in in there, or you can put
can we get something
a
in the
leaflet
fall
there.
version of that
so
magazine?
you already have an
Don't you
audience
want-
that
absolutely.
probably
We get a
retains
page
that.
of
They've
each.
already been trained by
look at that.
receiving that.
Yeah.
I know people in town that talk about, I have to check the Park and Rec magazine and see what the tennis events are in town or whatever.
Well, we could do the
So-
spring Park and Rec too because it comes out right now.
I think we should do
Put
every
yourself in there.
Isn't that this?
Don't miss that opportunity.
Well, yeah,
for next year. I think we should do fall, winter, like plug it
So
in each
fall.
Park and Rec magazine.
Next
That's
spring.
the way to get. I think that's an amazing idea. Like each Park and Rec magazine should have.
Take
like,
advantage of what's there already. Don't keep trying reinventing because you just people get too much crap. So you don't want to be in with the crap. So In fact, I'm up against this whole thing right now. What they call it, 7 pounds of trash that people get in the mail every year. So,
Yeah.
I think actually people are looking at their mail more than they used to because email, it's novelty now.
That's even worse. Email.
They want the
Email is just
postcard
so.
for the
I think
fridge.
what you get in
And busy
the
families.
Well, you're lucky in that people expect the local stuff in the town to come in mail. They don't trust anything that comes in email. So you're better off. Yeah, if you were going to say, I want to do email blasts, I would recommend you don't bother. that's even worse.
Well, I think email blasts can be effective. I mean, we're very close with Noble House Media Group that does the Chamber's website and does an awful lot of digital marketing for different companies of all sizes, but a lot in Darien. And he's been doing some email marketing that's been extremely effective.
It depends on your source. That's really what
But
it is.
the
That's
Park and
business.
Rec,
They have
it's
an
great
opt-in
for a
list.
certain group of our residents. But then there are other residents who aren't going to look because they're out of that. They're not in that life stage, or it's not part of their
So then
What
let's
about-
what they do.
incorporate it in
So I like
the
the card. Actually, the card can we could do that
Yeah.
3 times. That can be part of the frequency, and then you do three cards or 4 cards, and then you've got a 7-time blast, and then you'd have everybody else in the world talking about what they're doing.
Well, I just said to Jamie, because your point taken on some people are going to read that Park and Rec thing and some aren't. I said, why not blast the cover with it?
Mhm.
Because then everyone sees it. It's not, you don't have to open it.
Oh,
Do the cover.
that's
Yeah.
love that.
I could get a good picture at this
Yep.
year's fest, and then we could have that picture on the front with the details of the 2020 birthday bash.
With the logo.
With the logo.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I
when
think
would
that's
you
great.
need that information to get into the?
We do
Oh,
it
too
for
late.
the fall. We do.
Yesterday.
I will need it by the end of the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good. They have that long.
So we'd have the logo definitely by the end of the summer.
Yeah, and you're gonna have some great
And
photographs.
the first one would be just, I think, maybe a general announcement. It doesn't have to have a
I
detail.
wonder if it's possible for Al and I to meet with like the heads of the different major areas, like the direct mail, and then also the historical markers and the birthday bash, and youth, just to start to like hammer out a timeline, because the getting in touch with the community members and also communications are going to depend. We're going to have to coordinate. So if we could just meet separately at some point.
Okay. So I'll send out an email to the points of contact for everything, and maybe we can meet
Okay.
when everybody's available.
Okay.
But you're right, there's gonna be all these need dates flowing in, and we gotta kind of coordinate all the different groups.
So,
So,
to follow up then, just to get the committee's sort of input, do you want me to get pricing for something that folds out like this? Or do we want to just do cards, this size?
Get both. Yeah,
This size?
I would think that if we put something in here, or put it on the cover on fall, winter, and spring, and then also maybe a trifold as well, would be good.
I think we need to have a card.
Yes, I think something separate.
In addition
I
to
think
the
something
trifold
separate.
and
Okay.
this. So
So-
if, in a card size, do you get just a group like this? Or do you like something like this? You're in the direct mail business. What do you think?
I'm not direct marketing, but
Direct marketing.
I do some mail, but usually it's so.
What if we get the pricing and see like?
Yeah, why don't we get the pricing, and
All
then
right,
we'll vote.
I'll ask Trask to
So
give me
we'll
some
let-
pricing.
And we'll have a vote on it in April.
Okay.
I was gonna say usually the trifolds are takeaways, so you want something usually with a takeaway. If you notice, some of your trifolds have takeaways.
Yeah, it's like you fill a form back to register for something.
Yeah, or there's a card in it, or there's a, I don't know if there's something like that you're doing. So, trifolds
this
have
one
a
has
certain
it.
amount of, like if you're planning to put the calendar in it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So
It's hard for me to answer that question because it's too open.
I can bring in to the next meeting, we did a trifold in our annual appeal, and we just did a trifold for our gala, and like it has example, like you rip it off and sign up, or you donate or whatever, that kind of thing. So
Maybe
That's
the
the concept of
trifold's too much. Maybe we just need to direct people to the town website, to the calendar.
Mhm.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier because you can load up a calendar in 2 seconds, last minute, with anybody's event that's coming up. You don't have
You can also do it
the
both
lead
ways,
time.
like if you have multiple calendar events, but then just put at the bottom, new events are being added, and please check the website for updates or something, and that way people kind of had both.
Yeah, okay.
So is it okay, Susan, if you would get pricing on the small card, the large card, and the trifold?
Yeah.
And then we'll all vote on it in April?
Yeah.
And then if we put it into Parks and Rec, is there extra costs, or is that covered by your?
No, we would cover them.
Okay. That's covered by Parks and Rec.
I would just think for the fall and winter, I could do a ad for like a save the date, but I really wouldn't want to put it on the cover just because it's not fall and winter. But then I could have it on the cover for the
Okay.
spring and summer. But we could still do a save the date. And
Yeah,
fall
you
and
need to
winter.
have your seasonal cover.
Yeah, it would just be a little bizarre on the fall and winter,
Yeah.
but we
Could it
could
be on
still
the
do a
back
save
cover?
the date in
I'm trying to
there.
remember what's on the back cover.
Yeah, we usually do save the dates and stuff
Yeah,
like
okay,
that
that's
on the back,
perfect,
so we
perfect.
could do that.
Coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get one?
Yeah. So we'll do something in the Parks and Recs for fall, winter, and spring, and then we'll get the 3 estimates, and then we'll vote on it next meeting. Good. And we also need, like you said, a calendar, and I think it's on the town, if we can get it on the town website. I guess we would go to Linda O'Leary for
Yeah.
that.
I'll give
Okay.
her a call next week just to see what the process is.
You might also want to toss that to your social media person whenever you get that person, because they can put that into Facebook and other places.
Do we have a
Lots of
budget
people
for a
do.
social media person? Like, we have a
Plug into
really good
that.
person that we hired, but,
Right now, we don't have a budget for anything.
okay, I thought that, I just didn't know.
I have somebody who I'm gonna ask to volunteer
Okay.
who could be
Oh,
really
really?
great.
Actually, we do have a small
I have 2
budget
people.
of a few $1,000s, just
Right.
sending.
But I'm gonna see if I can get them to volunteer. You ask your person too. We'll see if we can get someone to volunteer to it, is what you're looking for.
I'm
right?
thinking
Yeah,
of Haley
absolutely.
Harkman, who's in your office,
Sounds
but you're not there anymore at Noble House on Grove
There-
Street.
Oh, Haley, in Noble House Haley?
Yeah,
She's adorable.
yeah.
I love her.
And
But no, she's one building over, but I love her.
yeah,
She
and
does
then,
stuff, they help us with a lot of stuff.
Jenny
Jenny,
Murphy.
that's who we use, Jenny.
Yeah,
Murphy.
I think she's really good.
Okay. Are you gonna reach out to them? That sounds great.
Ask Jenny first.
Okay.
Haley's
I'll
so
ask,
busy.
I'll ask Jenny and see what she says.
You know, maybe we could have 2 people.
Yeah, we may need. So I'll try to reach out to Linda O'Leary and see what it takes to get on the town website.
Okay.
I have a question about email, since that was brought up. Since there are going to be different organizations doing events, I think that maybe one option would be like to ask each organization to send an email to their opt-in list, like, you know, hey, this is the event we're doing and here's the full 2020 calendar, or some kind of promotional. And we could even come up with like a boilerplate email that people can just drop into their, you know, constant contact or whatever. It just seems like that is a great way to get to people who've opted in, and, you know, rather than trying to do a town email, like there are people who've opted into Mather, there are people, we have a list of like 2,000 or 1,500 people. I mean, there are people who've opted into different organizations, and if it's not spammy, but like, hey, we're going to do something, or we're going to be part of the Weed Beach Beast Fest to save the date, and these are all the others, here's a place to go. I think it would be just a way to kind of,
Yeah, if you already have mailing lists are already pre-existing.
yeah, people have already opted into these mailing lists.
Plus it makes it seem like, wow, there are a lot of different, because a lot of people are on,
Everyone's
you know,
on
some
board.
of the same mailing lists. So if you get it from a lot of different organizations, you
Yeah.
feel like, wow, this is a really great cross-section.
And do we have a media sponsor, like Mockley Media, or, because we just did a partner, they do a thing for nonprofits, and I believe this would qualify for it, where you get this trade out, where you get like 2 full page, an ad, and a full page ad in 2 issues of the magazine. So like ours, it was, they gave it to us for, I don't know, I'm sure we could, whatever, but it just, you get 2 free full page ads, and you get 2 free mailings, and then all they want is for you to say on the bottom of it, exclusive media sponsor Mockley. Now, they don't consider the Darien Times or any of the newspapers. It's really other magazines like Look and Serendipity that they're against, and Mafia, I think, has a bigger spread. But Look also, I think, does a similar offer. I think I could look into that if you want me to, because we just did it. But then we'd have a big, beautiful ad in Darien, New Canaan, Rowayton magazine, or whatever, Look, Greenwich, or whatever the magazine is. But it's free.
Yeah,
I mean,
do you have a contact at Mofley, like in the
Kathleen
editorial?
Godbold, she does, well, not so much editorial.
Lisa Hinkst is a
she's the
resident,
editor.
and she's a publisher.
Oh, you know, because I love. I think that
They
this
could
would
do an
qualify
article.
for like a really
Yeah.
an article soon.
Lisa's lovely.
Okay.
Perfect.
Would you mind sharing her contact or
Directory.
Oh, it's in the directory. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. Perfect.
Did you get one?
I probably did. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, anything else about the EDM?
Well, I'd also like to say on the community calendar, remember the Chamber's about to launch a community calendar for nonprofit events and chamber events, and anyone can post on it that is a chamber member or a nonprofit in town. So everything can be loaded on our community calendar. It could be linked to the town calendar. If it's on the town calendar, it can be loaded onto ours. It's going to be a snap.
Is that connected with the YW?
No.
Okay, because I just heard at a different meeting that the YW was launching a community calendar too.
No, this is ours.
This is
Because we have so many chamber members who want to post events.
absolutely. I just didn't know if they.
So,
Almost every nonprofit in town is a member of the chamber. There are 3 that are not, of the major ones. The technology group, the Darien, what do you call yourself now? I can never say it correctly.
Well,
The
for
Foundation
about
of
4
Darien?
years now, we've been the Darien Foundation.
Thank you. The Darien Foundation. 'Cause
We
we
did
have our-
start as the Darien Technology Foundation. That's the confusion. We initially started to do technology, and then 10 years ago, one of the things that caused us to open our mission was the Playground by the Sound, which was a bunch of parents who wanted some help with the grant on that. So we've done a lot of things, like we just did the Bird Sanctuary, just did the Darien Nature Center. So it's not just technology.
We have a foundation too, so that's why I was. The word was not easy for me to say, thinking that I was using my own nonprofit's word. So anyway, the Tree Conservancy and the Land Trust are the only really, and the Mather Homestead are really the 3 major nonprofits in town that are not members of the chamber. So I would expect that every single organization that's doing an event will can post on our community calendar. The town Park and Rec can post on our community calendar.
I think, can I just, it might be a committee decision, but it feels like the most natural place for the calendar should be probably at the town hall. And then the town can maybe link to different, or other.
It can link to us easily.
Somehow, but I feel like
I
I'm
think it's
not
gotta
sure
be-
it's going
I
to be
think
a
it's gotta
committee
be on the
decision,
town.
probably.
Yeah, I think that's more
Absolutely.
intuitive,
That
that
would
people would go to the town.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a proper
It should-
process,
it'd be
but I
great to
can't
be
believe
linked.
anybody would have an issue.
It can be
Right.
hot linked, and it's so
Right.
easy to hot
Jamie
link
would
it. Yeah.
support that.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I can work it with Noble House that we do the logo on the chamber, and I can tell you that there are a lot of chamber members who are celebrating anniversaries who are going to have their own events.
okay. So I'll try to contact Linda
Yeah.
and talk about getting it. I think it definitely has to be on the town. This is a town committee, and it's a
Right.
town event. But it'd be great if we could link it to your calendar.
Yeah, that would be great. We just don't want it to look like a business thing,
No,
it's like
it's
a
gotta be-
town.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, exactly. I totally get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then I'd like to move on to the beach festival. Jamie, did you want to say anything about the beach festival?
Well, I don't know exactly what we're planning for the.
Yeah.
I can talk. So I can say essentially the Beach Fest as it stands today is we have live music at Wee Beach. We have a town stage that we utilize. We float right out on the beach, and we have bands play all day. We have food vendors there, all different kinds. We do a clam bake, and we have a full kids cove area that's roped off, and we have all different kinds of games and activities for the kids. So it's we already consider it kind of like a little beach bash. So I think it would be the perfect little setting for a birthday bash. But and the really exciting thing is if all goes to plan, we will hopefully be opening the short lane side that same summer. So we would have a lot more space to work with, as well as like a beautiful new area to the beach. So we could potentially have a whole new area up there to work with. And I mean, I would love to see I don't know how it's going to work with me. Will I have meetings of my own for the event, or people suggesting things? But the more we can get groups out and involved and want to do their own activities and stuff, the more the merrier.
Would it help if you had like a committee to start like planning the beach bash, and as far as communications is concerned, I can like write up a press release to kind of put the word out that you're looking for
Yeah,
to
that'd be
build
great.
it. Or maybe people from this committee too would like be part of a sub.
Yeah, because I just
Maybe.
kind of want to know what people envision as the Darien birthday side of the event. Like as much as I love Weed Beach Fest, I want to make sure we're embracing the celebration of Darien's 200th birthday too.
Okay.
So
Well, are we gonna have the boat down there?
I hope so. I don't know how easy. I missed the last meeting. How easy is it to move?
It's on a trailer. We've had a custom built trailer built for it, so it's going to be pretty mobile, I think.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
But it can't go in the water.
If people go this year, they can get a sense
But
of
it can be
what
climbed
the
on.
event, you know. I've never been, but, you know, if you're in town, it's on June 1st of 2019, so probably would help Jamie if some of us just went and saw kind of the layout
Absolutely.
and everything this year, because then you'll have a better sense of, you know, it's easier to think about it when you
Yes.
kind of have seen it in action than in the abstract, at least for me.
Maybe we can also like send an email to this group first to see who would be interested in serving on a subcommittee, and then depending on that, we'll
Okay.
you know, put a press release out and
Okay, yeah, that'd be
calling for
fantastic.
volunteers to
Yeah,
start planning.
I've got some. I know some people who would love to volunteer and work on that with you.
Okay, great. Yeah, lots of fun.
So I'll send an email to all the members of the subcommittee asking if they would like to, or they know somebody who would like to, help to be on the beach club subcommittee.
Would you invite also maybe some high school students who, you know, some of the seniors, juniors from National Honor Society or something that would that
we could
actually
ask-
need
I'm sure
hours
Sarah
we could
would.
do?
I'm sure
Oh,
Sarah would.
absolutely.
Yeah, they
We
could- they
actually
would do
asked
something
them
like
last
that.
year to come and volunteer,
Okay.
so we
Yeah.
would absolutely.
I'm sure Sarah would have. You know,
We
lots of
always
people.
need I mean, that's
Already
our
have people.
biggest challenge with the entire event is having enough hands to like make it
But
happen.
even to be on the committee, like you
It's
might
gonna
have
be
one or two.
graduation.
So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I would love
Oh, is
that.
it?
Have them involved.
The high school always lets out around that day, around those dates, depending on snow days.
Well, this year it's the 18th because of snow days, so if they get, and it seems like they don't have any built-in snow days, so it's exactly as Susan said, it's usually that Friday right before that, but it hasn't been that day for about 5 years because there's always at least 1 or 2 snow days, and this year it's the Wednesday, I guess.
But the seniors are also gone.
The
because
seniors are-
they're doing their internship, so they would have time because they only have to
Yeah.
do those 3 hours a day. So you might get like 1 or 2 very strong.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
sure Sarah
Sarah,
would
yeah.
probably have
This
lists.
is great resource.
Yeah. So I'd like to move on to historical markers. Catherine Love is here, and she's the regent of the Goodwives chapter of the Darien and of the Daughters of the American Revolution. So she'd like to. I'd like her to talk a little bit about what's been done in the past for the Thaddeus Bell gravesite.
Okay, well, thank you for having me here today. The Goodwives River Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution Memorial Project would be to pay tribute to the DAR patriot and founder, or one of the founders of Darien, Thaddeus Bell, during the town's 200th anniversary. The National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution was founded in 1890 to promote patriotism, historical preservation, and education. One way the DAR perpetuates the memory and spirit of those brave souls who achieved American independence is by marking grave sites of patriots who fought or gave patriotic service or civil service during the years 1775 to 1783. So just a little background, this idea was hatched when during my second year as being regent in 2014-15, I realized that the Goodwives River had not done a memorial at all in the town. I'm like, gotta fix that. So we raised some money, and the memorial now stands outside in the Veterans Memorial Circle. And Ken Reese helped me, write the script for the marker, which has to be approved through DAR. I mean, they dot every I and cross every T. It has to be historically accurate. But when we were thinking about it, we had leftover money from our fundraiser because it was so popular that we put it aside and we wanted to do other graves. And one of them was Thaddeus Bell, and we decided the 200th anniversary, which was only a few years away, would have been the better date. And also, coincidentally, June 10th, 2020 is the 60th anniversary of the chapter.
Oh, great.
It's a little like kind of odd coincidence, but it is. It was founded June 10th, 1960. So the small bronze plaque, bronze plaque will note the patriot Thaddeus Bell, his birth and death dates, his service record, the Goodwise River chapter, and the date it was placed. It will also have the DAR insignia at the top. The Darien Cemetery Committee verbally gave me their approval and already pledged to clean the cemetery and repair Thaddeus Bell's wife's, Elizabeth Howe's, gravestone prior to the ceremony. This is just interesting because these were from 2014. I pulled off Find a Grave, and this is what it looks like now. So she's in disrepair. I don't know if you pass those around. This cemetery is Slauson, which is over by Weburn on Hanson Street. So I've spoken to members of the committee, and they gave their approval to pledge and clean and repair the grave sites. I reached out to the local Bell descendants a few years back when we first thought about it, but we'll touch base with them again. The funding for the marker is already in place by the chapter, but we must submit the application for marker permission by the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution before we can proceed. But since he's already in the database as a patriot, it should be quick. The marker will be fabricated by a company approved by DAR to create their insignia. And I've got estimates there, but again, the chapter will fund it, so there's no anything to do with the town as far as money-wise. The Goodwise River chapter has an amazing media chair, Karen Pollitt, which I know you guys are probably familiar with, and she will submit the publicity about the event to national, to Connecticut Society, local newspapers, social media sites. The state region has already expressed interest to attending. We would just have to coordinate, an agreed upon date. June would be great because it's the same month as our chapter, but whatever you decide is best. And so these are what the markers would look like. They're very small, just very simple. I just pulled these off.
Are they the same all over the country? I mean,
Pretty much.
Up and down
There's
the
a
East
pretty
Coast,
much
or
there's a
yes?
standard
Yeah.
for the DAR. If it's a patriot, it's pretty much Revolutionary War soldier, the name, the dates of birth and the years of birth and death, the chapter marker. I'd like to squeeze in his service record, and if I can, the only thing is the DR has to grant the permission. I'd like to put the 200th anniversary of the town in there as well.
Or that he was a founder of the town.
So if you have any questions, but thank you for your time. I
No,
appreciate
that's
you
amazing.
being here.
Thank you. This is great.
So where does it go, the marker?
Well,
Does it go next to the cemetery marker, or where?
Well, this is his, I don't know where it is now, but this is his tombstone. It's too fragile to directly put it on. So what I would imagine, I would have to speak, once we get the permissions, I would have to speak to the company that fabricates it. I would imagine we would somehow sink it into cement.
Got it.
Not disturb anything underneath, but something where someone could not just pick it up and walk away, which is a tragedy, but that's happening.
I have a couple questions. First, I'm just thinking, we had installed at the Historical Society our Thaddeus Bell wall, and I'm wondering if there's like a way that we might be able to coordinate, or maybe, after the ceremony or something like that, have something at the Historical Society and, to talk about Thaddeus Bell and the bell wall. We have his walking stick.
Yeah, because I told this.
And you were also talking about, and will be about, when we're talking about putting the historical markers around the town.
Yeah. That was my next question. Is there going to be one at Thaddeus Bell's gravestone?
Yeah,
Okay.
not at the gravestone, but outside the cemetery, because it's too big to put next to the gravestone.
I
It
see.
would dwarf it. So you'd be out near the entrance to the cemetery, but it would have a picture of it and call attention to the story and tell that there too.
And so I wonder if the installation, like not to take away from the Daughters of the American Revolutionaries fire from your publicity, should they be, should we coordinate, or should those be two separate installation events kind of thing?
I wouldn't want to commit and say that it's possible. They may arrive at different times, you know, and you may want to do two separate things, which would be fine.
Okay.
You know, I don't think we're going to have to hire extra security to keep the crowds down in either event. But it might be good to get two shots at it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the 150th year anniversary, they did the actual opening ceremony at the Thaddeus Belgrade site, which would be cool to do. And you could also do it on June 12th as well, or both of them, or just one of them, either the opening ceremony or the actual June 12th, which would be the closing ceremony you could have there.
Yeah, or the one in May where he brought actually brought the notification from New Haven back to town.
So we would have a marker from the DAR actually very close to the gravesite, and then something that would have a little more explaining about his tie to the town, and kind of out right at the entrance to the gravesite, or entrance to the cemetery, or somewhere around there. Okay, that sounds
Because
good.
this is it's smaller, you know, it's just intentionally for marking the grave and recognizing his patriotic service.
Yeah, good.
But if we could coordinate it, I think that would be good to have everyone at the same time.
I think that would be great, either the opening ceremony or June 12th, the actual date.
Yeah, whichever or whatever you would like to decide. And like I said, he's already in the database, so the approval should go through, and I have friends there too, so.
Okay, great.
So it should go through quickly.
So that's something I was going to ask. It's kind of presumptive or early, but for monuments and ceremonies, will you guys handle the opening and closing ceremony, or is that on this committee? It's you guys will handle that.
I think it all should be concentrated here.
All should be concentrated here.
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's the expectation.
Okay. So if that's true, then we'll need a point of contact for the opening and closing ceremonies. So if anybody wants to volunteer for it's a point of contact for opening and closing ceremonies. Either one or two people.
We may get overruled on that, but
yeah, if you want to ask, I'll send an email out to Dave.
Yeah.
You want me to do that? I'll send an email to Dave asking him to confirm. Is it our? Do we have ownership on that, or is it?
Yeah.
Do we have ownership on that, or do you guys have ownership on that?
To see what he says, I don't know.
Yeah, I think at the closing ceremony, actually, Lowell Weicker, at the 150th year anniversary, attended and gave a speech. So it would be cool to get somebody from Hartford or something. So that's good. So on the historical markers, everybody I think got a list of that Ken put together. He put asterisks, 4 asterisks for gotta have, 3 asterisks for 1.5, 2 asterisks for so-so, and then no asterisks for he's not crazy about it, I guess. And I guess what we'll do is, originally we're thinking 12. I think that's very, very aggressive. I don't want to get, I want to get something that we may actually do. I think we need a minimum of 4, 1 for every month of the ceremony. If we can do more than that, it'll be good, but anywhere from 4 to 12.
Now let me talk about the steps for a minute. So I mean, this is not exactly a push button operation.
Right.
The idea here was, and you can certainly change it if you want to, but the idea here was that these would be reasonably large, I don't know exactly what to call them, acrylic, colorful plaques. See, the trouble is, the minute you start looking at plaques, all I want to do is throw bronze at you, and that's not what we're talking about. These are these kind of reader board things that you see in growing numbers of towns now, where it describes what the history of the thing is, and has a couple of pictures and a little text and whatever, and has really a lot more interesting than the normal historical marker. But there is one down at the beach, apparently, that's close to this, that's similar to this, that was done right down
at Weed Beach? Or Pear Tree?
No, it's down at Pear Tree, I think, down near the boat ramp.
I can find out where we had it named.
Yeah, well, I think I think Dave knows. Dave Paula talked to somebody about it and got the name and whatever, which I just don't happen to have here. Anyway, the idea was to create these as a lasting part of the 2020 celebration, so that it would have the Bi-Centennial logo on it, and it would be there for years. But also, if this could be done, and to have some organization sponsor it, i.e., pay for it, and get the sponsorship line on the plaque. But somebody has to make that happen. In other words, we need to have somebody who either publicizes this and gets people, saying, hey, I'd like to buy that, or whatever. But for that we need price, we need, a whole variety of other things. Somebody has to take charge of that.
So the historical mark will be like from BMW of Darien?
Yeah.
Okay.
No?
Sponsored by, in a very attractive, down the line on the bottom. My little dance card is absolutely full, so I can't handle any of this. We're working on the 1820 commemorative book at the Historical Society, which then morphs into the 1820 commemorative show, both of which have to be done by March 1st next year, and are official events and publications of this group. And it gives us about 50% of the normal preparation time we would have on something like this. So we don't really have the capability of going out and doing other activities along with this. So we're going to need a volunteer to take over that program.
Okay. So
now we will certainly assist with the text. We'll assist with providing illustrations, possibly even with design. I don't know. I would guess so. We have at the Historical Society pretty good material to illustrate much of this. I don't know what we do about the graveyard, but we'll figure something out. But I think there are things that can be done in terms of an illustration or two illustrations or something on a plaque, plus the text that shows why is this a significant area, or why is this. You want to talk about it a little bit, or just
that was good. I just would like everybody to come to look at what you decided, what you pointed out.
Also, I think Bob he's heading up this, right?
Yeah, I think Bob is heading it up. He actually got a couple of designs. I think one of them, he showed me a couple of them.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
One of them was, I think, precisely what you're talking about. You kind of see it if you go to a national park. It's got some language and stuff written on it.
Over in Norwalk at the church on Wall Street, the old cemetery and everything.
Right.
I was there last summer for a July 4th ceremony, and they had those huge plaques, and it started with a timeline. They had a background border of a war scene, and they had, and it was huge. I mean,
so I think Bob has moved out on that. I mean, he's got some.
So is he really the volunteer?
He is the volunteer. He said he's the volunteer for this. Yes, he's the point of contact for this. Right.
Actually, he thought of it.
Yes.
Thought of it. Okay.
Do you remember we were sitting there?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And subsequent to that, he said he can definitely be the point of contact.
He wants to take it up and carry the flag.
He showed me a couple of pictures of designs, and he knows some companies that does stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're 100% there on if we want a corporate sponsor or if it should be paid by the
Bob
town.
mentioned another idea, something for the committee to consider, that how they have like this site maintained by, so maybe it could be kind of a partnership with a business if they were going to, not on the marker itself, but like kind of like, how they have those signs.
Right, and that's actually good, because then the money to maintain it would keep coming in.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
if some business changes, then you have that opening for someone else to come in and do that.
Right.
I like that idea.
So I think we got some staff for that. I mean, I'm involved through Jim. If you want to, we'd love for you to help out on this too. We can show you a couple of things that he came up with.
Who would maintain them? Whose budget would it go under to maintain them?
We have to decide that. I mean, we've got people, if it, on the cemeteries, this committee that maintains the cemeteries. If it's on somebody's personal property, I don't know how that would be done. If it's on town property, it would
Most
be the town,
of
so.
what, these
that
markers?
still work.
Yeah.
Would maintain it.
I believe the ones that, I don't know what I have in mind. Okay, Rings End would be town, you can do that on town property, the Milestone Park is town property. Congregational church would have to be where they, but I think they would not be a problem. Graveyard is town property, Slauson Cemetery is town property. And the Fish's Home, depending on where you put it, it would either be the Darien Housing Authority or, which is not town property. That's state. Or you could go across the street. You know how the VFW hall. That's the old chapel from the Fish's Home for Soldiers that was moved across the street.
Oh, wow, really?
So, yeah, so it's the last surviving building of the compound. So anybody, whether somebody wanted to work with that, I don't know, but I would not imagine they would disagree with having it done. But this is all part of that deal of who wants to sponsor it, and where is it going to be put and can it be done? So, that's why there's a list.
So if everybody can kind of look over this, I know Mather House should definitely be on it. Bates Schofield House should definitely be on it. We've got the Thaddeus Bell gravesite. That's definitely on it.
I'd like to put in a plug for Tilly Pond Park simply because there are so many kids that play in there, and I just think that would be a really visible, historical, and you can probably get Friends of Tilly to maybe sponsor it and or maintain it. I'm just thinking a lot of these are in really important places, but they're off the beaten path. And Tilly, people from downtown walk there to eat lunch. You have people of all ages. It's a highly trafficked sort of place.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think the only thing that moved that down a little bit was that people were concerned about the vandalism.
Come under
That the
I don't know where
plaques
the,
was
is it going to
away
be
years ago down there.
positioned down at Wheat Beach forever?
No.
Well, now they
We
have
don't
the lights
know.
on the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they know
I
the
don't know.
lights
Frankly, I think
But-
that's the cost of doing
Yeah.
business, and I just, that doesn't bother me, but there were some concerns.
So if we do
Interesting.
we've
That's
got
good.
to
That's
have a
interesting.
marker.
Yeah, you got to have a marker for the whale
Well,
boat.
these aren't as likely to be stolen as they're not
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
Alan, is this part of our outreach?
There are a bunch of
I'm
kids
sorry?
who are
Is this
here.
part of our outreach committee, or is this going to be like a thing that we're going to be outreaching to people as maybe sponsorships for this? Is that how you imagine it?
I think that's what we have to decide. If we're going to be outreaching for sponsorships for this,
Yeah, I would think so.
and if we do,
I mean,
and
we don't
I
have
like
the
Maggie's idea.
budget.
Right.
I
I
just think that, you know what, this is such an exciting opportunity. This is, like once in 200 years that we get to do this. I think we ought to go for it all. Go for a marker at every single one of these. And I bet you get the money for almost every single one.
And then you'd have every month, you'd be at like.
And
I
then,
think that would be
and
cool.
you know what?
Yeah.
So you might get 10. You get 8. It's still better than 4. This is a great thing to do for our town, and you should have a little map.
This is something we have talked about at the Historical Society since before I was born, I think.
Oh,
Not that long. Most of these hadn't happened yet, right?
But now we're here to make it happen.
You said it. We were.
But all we
Well, I
have
mean,
to,
it's
you
the kind of
you
thing
just
that I
need to
really
know
think is,
like a rough estimate on the cost, and then Bob can go to town.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
So we want as many as possible.
If you don't mind my 2 cents,
I think everybody agrees
my
with that.
enthusiasm
No,
on
I
it. I
think
mean,
it's
why not?
I think it's
More the
pretty
merrier.
fair.
So when we rather those than banners, I mean, if we're looking for sponsorship, I guess we need to prioritize what we are asking for from the Chamber of Commerce or organizations like yours.
You mean the banners on all on the
Yeah, but
postcard?
like if we're asking for sponsorship, should we consider that? What is it we're going to emphasize? It seems like these 12 sites, this is our chance.
I think this is the chance. You have the American flags that the Hawes family has donated. You have the baskets that are so beautiful up and down the road.
I feel like we might need a development person, or like a person or a team that is going to go out and, you know, do the ask for this kind of stuff.
Isn't that the committee that
Yeah, right.
you set up?
Yeah,
if
right.
Bob-
Yeah,
if-
so.
If Bob is, listen, if Bob is signed on to go around knocking on doors to get this stuff, he'd be a heck of a lot, it'd be a lot easier on him if he managed to get an overall sponsor. Or two sponsors or something like that.
Or a few, there maybe have
You
to be a
could
few,
get one or
so.
two to sign up,
Pay
and
for the
then
whole program.
it makes your
Yeah,
pitch
I
so
mean-
much easier.
Even if you just got the company producing these things, if they sponsored it and had their name on it, it's produced by, and then it was like a go-to, because I mean, that would be my first thought if I was trying to create something. I would look, and if I saw the name on it, I mean, I would think that would be a win-win.
Incidentally, we have, you know, we have the Darien Foundation, which has been clearly the most generous, the number one backer of things in town, but also don't overlook the Good Now Family Fund.
Yes, that's a good point. They do cool stuff.
Huh?
Good Now, they do really cool things.
Yes, they do. And, you know, the entire gymnastics center at the Y was the Good Now Fund. The whole upstairs at the library was the Good Now Fund, the Good Now Family Fund. And they do other things as well. They do, I don't know, about 16 million a year or something like that.
You know, that's a very good point, because I can tell you that the businesses in town are hit up all, you know, every week.
Oh, yeah, you're not
every
going to get
month,
this out of
every
businesses.
year for money, and they just, you know, they would love to do it all, and they just can't.
Yeah.
But if there are other groups like it, there are other, you know, funds like this, where this is what they do, then I think that's maybe the best way to brainstorm to get the money.
Maybe we want to go through them first. What do you think?
Ken, do you have a sense of, like, what we're talking about in terms of cost for these? Like, is it 1,000? Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 20,000?
I don't know. I mean, this is part of what we're going to find out.
Because I think that
No one
some of
has
our
yet-
decision making might be driven by the
How much
cost.
money, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if it's
Nobody has
$1,000,
yet
you can
spoken.
get
No one has yet spoken
Yeah, yeah.
to the potential supplier.
Uh-huh.
Jamie, you're the closest one in terms of having ever done anything with them. Your department, if that's the supplier that we use, and if we do the same format and that kind of thing. So, you would have no way of knowing offhand what that costs.
Not offhand, but I'm sure I can most likely find out.
Yeah.
I would think we're pretty darn good at keeping records, so.
Yeah.
Because it would be helpful, I think, for
Yes,
us
it
to
makes
decide
it
how we
makes-
want
we
to
would have to
target.
know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the cost factor makes a big difference of who you would target. Because there's some places that if it were $2,000 for the whole thing, they'd be. I mean, I doubt it's that cheap. I'm sure it's probably between 5
Well,
and 10. But
yeah,
you never know.
the first step was, in as much as I don't think any of these has a direct link with the year 1820, but is really the history of the town. It is adjacent to, but not a direct part of the purview of this organization, unless we make it that. So what we're basically doing is floating this past and saying, hey, what do you think? Would this be a good addition to the 1820 celebration to generate these things and do it? I happen to think it'd be a wonderful opportunity. And most people that I've spoken to think it's a wow. But that was the first step, basically, is to say, does this go under the umbrella?
And then, Ken, do you imagine that they're all going to be the same size, or do you think that we're going to have to?
No, I think they should be standard.
Okay.
You know, have you ever looked through any time? I mean, I know.
I think for cost too, if you standardize them,
Yeah,
or
that's
some
good.
bulk.
I'm terrible. I mean, even my dogs say, "Oh my God, he's found another plaque to read." You know. So I've seen these places. I see these things places, and there are little towns up in Maine and whatever that have maybe 6 or 8 or 10 of them through the town. You know, this used to be so and so shipyard, and this was.
There's one out in the circle here. The founding Darien, you know, like you park, you know,
The little,
yeah,
right.
talks about Darien.
Has it got pictures on it and stuff? or is it-
No pictures, it's the bronze kind, but it's
Oh, bronze, yeah, but no, but I'm talking about these
the
pictorial.
picture ones, okay.
Yeah, these pictorial things,
The
sometimes
color,
they're
the
black.
graphics on it, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it looks, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they're
I've
black
seen
and white, sometimes they're in
So-
color.
So,
But I think they're a lot
Typically
more.
more tourist
Oh, yeah.
locations.
Yeah,
so
I think
Jamie,
they're a lot
if
more
you,
interesting.
Jamie, if you could
And
do
my
some
target-
research on the cost.
My target is the citizens of the town who should be gaining an appreciation of the fact that the town was here before they were, and that it has a quality, and that it is unique, that when you come into this town, you're no longer in Stamford, Norwalk, or whatever, you're in a specific place that has a specific hip anchor and a specific history, and it's worth paying attention to and worth working for. That's my feeling on it.
Okay, I think, in summary, Jamie, if you could give me an estimate.
Sure.
I know Bob is actually working pretty hard on this. Jim, do you want to be involved
Sure.
in this? Okay, because Ken, like he said, is
And-
doing the work and
and-
everything else. He's got too much. So it's Jim, me, Bob, Maggie. You know, we'll put something together. There's also a timeline that we gave you. We'd really like a kind of a timeline for every major group. So I'll send you that email just for the 5 groups to get together.
Yeah, so that one, is that the one that says draft on it?
Yes.
Yeah,
They'll say
so
draft.
what we're hoping for the heads of the different committees,
Yes, please.
like the birthday bash and the direct mailing and what else? Well, this is the historical markers. Is just for, just to start thinking about a timeline so that the community connections and publicity can start coordinating with you guys, just as, you know, just as a starting point to start a conversation, get the ball rolling,
So
to
if
start coordinating.
If everybody could make something like this up, you know, it really helps with communication. If the education committee needs a press release, what date do they need input for the press release, you know, something like that. I think we covered everything. Is there any motion to adjourn? Or anybody else have anything they want to talk about?
I have a question.
Oh,
But I don't want to belay.
you could, but I wanted to say something else.
Yeah, go ahead.
David sent me an email. He said he was surprised there wasn't a time capsule involved. I think that's like a very, very cool idea. I love those things. Maybe 50 years or something like that.
Well, that's why
So
I said
go
it could be
ahead.
the 100. Well, yeah, I mean, my thinking was I was surprised there wasn't one from 50 years ago because I know in the 70s, particularly in that time period, that was like a trendy thing.
Yeah, like in
people did, right?
1976 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was involved in something else that was, you know, involved the time capsule for about 50 years ago for my university, but this could be a 100-year event that you do, and that's where I was kind of saying in the email that I sent, where not only does it allow you to commemorate this year, but then it also is forward-looking because it also, you know, presents in the future your impact to the future. That in 100 years someone will open this, or 50 years, whatever you do.
This is what was going on.
Yeah.
And the kids love that. I mean, I'm sure Sarah would get people, you know, involved.
Like each school maybe could
We
do-
have at the Historical Society the contents of a time capsule that was put in, I guess, I don't remember what the school was. I think it may have been the old Setter School in the 1870s or 80s. That then when the school was torn down, the roll that was in the thing was, we have that roll, so that would be.
There you go, there's a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Hello?
Has it been opened yet, or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's the show and tell before you do the event.
You know,
Like a little thing,
it's
like
totally
an
goofy, of
exhibit on
course.
that.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the
They always
idea.
are. They always
That's the
are.
idea. It's like you never expect what you're going to see and
Yeah.
what people thought was
It's
important.
like a Pikachu or something. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
We should have a little exhibit on that, if we're gonna do the time, we can have, you know, we could have that stuff out at the Historical Society for people to take a look.
We need events that can be publicized and get 150 people there.
And I
Draw
think
people's
that would.
interest.
Yeah, get some draw people's attention.
So
And burying the time capsule or signing the papers for the time capsule or doing something like that that's one of those.
It's usually a good closing ceremony event as well.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So is there a motion to vote on if this should be one of the subcommittees?
Make a motion.
Is there a second? Okay,
I can't make it.
everybody say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good.
Great.
Okay.
I'm already in trouble. So,
Would
Well,
you
if you
like
have
to?
the schools, the schools do their own time capsules and maybe bury them at the same place. That's going to bring all the parents and all the kids, to the event.
Oh, the time capsule? I'm not sure. Would you like to head this project, the time capsule project?
Do you want to be the point of contact for it? I mean, do you want to?
You don't have to decide now.
Run it?
oh Lord, I don't know if I can.
Okay.
Okay.
And that, because there's other things that I might be involved in that I didn't even get to ask about yet, so I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Possibly.
I'm sorry, but did you have anything else?
I did have another question,
Okay,
which
absolutely,
might
go
impact with some involvement. I guess somewhat towards the historical side of things. I see you have the Bates Schofield out there. Are you involving at all, or did you have in here in this? In thinking the Bates Cemetery as well?
No, but Dave has mentioned that, and
Because it's bordering with our building and our space, so that's why.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that I should have mentioned as far as this list is concerned, and that is if, for example, the Masons or that the owner of the building
The tenants,
next door,
yeah.
or somebody like that
Mhm.
wants to add one of these to a legitimate historic site in town, like the Bates Cemetery, put it on the list, and they're, as long as they're.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because I can't speak for them, but I can pretty much already indicate that I can get that plate or that, whatever placard, whatever you're deciding to do there, covered, because they're interested in creating a historical sort of experience
As an
there.
add-on to their campus.
One down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as part of their campus.
Sure, we're covered.
Yeah, we will.
So I will put that on the list and put your name next to it. It's the Bates
Cemetery.
Cemetery.
Where is that one?
Wow, how do you explain that?
You know where the Masonic Temple is?
Okay, Maggie,
All right, I'll
thank
see.
you.
See, nobody knows where we are. Near Duchess, right? We are.
Oh, yeah.
It's
There's
like-
construction right around there now.
We have a
Oh,
cloaking
yeah.
device.
I know where it is now. You're behind the old sewing shop.
Yes, that's right, that's where we are.
Yeah, I know where it
Behind
is.
that is the Bates Cemetery.
Okay, I didn't know there was one back there.
Him pointing that out made me think, I'd have to run it past the chapter, but maybe we can help sponsor the plaque. So that would be something to tie in, because we would always, once we moved to Post Road, King
That's a great,
Did
we
you
have a good
have one of
question
these in
here.
the newspaper?
I got mine in the newspaper.
I just want to ask quickly, I'm sorry because I wasn't at the last meetings, but I'm assuming within the, is it youth and education, that are you having speakers throughout a series or something like that, like a speaker series for, historic, is that all within that committee?
Not all of them.
Okay.
We really haven't decided on speakers.
Wasn't sure. And then have
I
you
think the Historical
discussed?
Society is going to have an opening event,
Okay.
and they'll have speakers for that. But it'd be great if Nada hosted something.
And have you discussed at all the reenactment?
There is, yes,
Okay.
there is a couple of people, and Carl and Karen. I can never pronounce it. Crocodaro.
Okay.
They do reenactments.
Oh,
Of
fun.
what?
Because we were discussing doing that actually at Mather because of our big
Okay.
property and having some real thing where the kids, kids love that stuff, like down at Colonial
Totally fun.
Williamsburg. So something similar. So that's something that we maybe could
So let me get,
do.
let me
together.
tie in with them and with you.
That'd be great.
They presented actually to their board,
Mhm.
so they would like to do something.
And who is that? Can you just tell me again?
Karen and Carl.
It's Bocadaro,
Okay.
Boccodoro, I think, or might be Daro, one or the other.
Karen and sorry.
Carl.
Carl.
And they're with?
They are part of an association that
Okay,
does
perfect.
reenactments.
Thank you.
I don't know the
Yeah,
name of it, but
Practically professional reenactors.
yeah,
Yeah.
they have all of the gear.
What do they reenact?
They do a lot of revolutionary sites. I don't know if they do
Yeah.
any Civil War stuff.
And apparently they used to have parades in Darien, reenactment parades back at the turn of the century.
There was a big
We
one
have
at Tilly
costumes up
Pond,
at
I wanna
Mather.
say, in the last
Wow.
Up
Yeah,
in the
I thought
attic.
the attic is amazing at Mather.
We have costumes
We
from the
should have
reenactments in Darien. It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Okay, is there a motion to
Fascinating.
adjourn?
I know, it is really cool.
It
Is there a
is.
second motion to adjourn?
Second.
Yeah, right. You're
Thank
not
you
back.
so much.